Hey guys, this is Nate with Plainsmen Outdoors. Today is July 1st. I'm gonna take out my last run of mineral for the deer season. Thought I'd take you guys along and show you some of the things I do for deer management here on the ranch, and why I do them, and why I've done what I've done, and what I hope to get out of it. This is a beef ranch. We raise beef on the commercial beef market. So the deer hunting is just a hobby for us and family tradition. It's just something we do for fun. We're not making money off of our deer and our deer hunts or anything like that, or anything else that you've seen us do on Plainsmen Outdoors as far as turkey hunting. We are not in the outfitting business. We're not guides or anything like that. We just have fun hunting, and we enjoy wildlife management. And the cows pay the bills. So we're in the beef business. We are not in the deer business, but that doesn't mean we don't try and manage our deer as best we can. So I'm going to take you around to some of the mineral sites that I've started and show you what I'm using and how I use it, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Let's head to our first spot. Okay, so a couple of things we do for management. We don't do a lot. Two of the things we do, I got into doing some mineral sites, as well as managing our deer herd just through harvest, and how we shoot what we shoot, and how we choose what we take. So the deer mineral I just got into, this is my 4th season of doing deer mineral out here in northwest Nebraska in the Sandhills. And we've got grass and sand, and everything I've read and learned about growing good mature bucks with good antlers is a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it is good nutrition. And outside of grass and sand, we don't have the good soil, the good minerals that it takes to grow big antlers, and we don't have the crops either. There's not a lot of cornfields and soybean fields out here like there is in the rest of Nebraska or Iowa or some of those other Midwestern states. Out here in the Sandhills, we've got grass and sand. So we just don't, in my opinion, we just don't have the groceries to grow those 200-inch BNC bucks. Now, I'm not saying that the Sandhills can't produce that. I'm not saying it never has produced that or anything like that. It's not the norm to grow those kind of deer here, because they lack in the nutrition. So what I have decided to do is try and help boost their nutrition a little bit through mineral sites. Now, I am also not looking to just break the bank on what we invest and what we've put into the deer. I'm not looking to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a deer herd. We raise cattle, we don't raise deer. So this mineral I have found is something that I hope will boost what they need a little bit that they're not getting here in the sand. So this mineral that I put out, I don't even put it out year round. I just put it out for a lot of their antler growing season. So I put it out from April 1st to July 1st. July 1st is my last mineral dump that I do. So again, right now I've got 3 mineral sites. I've got about $500 into the whole thing for the season, and I've dumped about 9 bags per site a season. So here's the mineral that I use. It's called Boonerbuck. It's made here in north central Nebraska by a friend and local rancher that is also in the beef business but cares about deer management, so he got into making his own mineral for it. So I buy this mineral here locally. It's sold on a nationwide but I've had really good luck with it, and I really enjoy using it. So I'll get that set up to dump on this first site. So the reason I dump 3 times in the spring and kind of the beginning of summer, rather all at once in the spring, is just to keep my piles fresh. I've got friends that just dump it all at one time. They'll dump hundreds of pounds at one time, and that'll get them through, and that's fine. I've got the luxury of checking the mineral sites every couple months, and just keeping them fresh so they don't get hard and crusty. I don't think that's a big deal. A deer are like cattle; they'll dig through the crustiness of it, and they'll pick through it. I think it's fine, but I kind of like to break mine up and keep the site fresh. So I bring along my rake with me, and anything that's left over, sometimes there's hardly any left over. After my first dump on April 1st, there was nothing left over. They ate it all. After this second dump, halfway through May, they cleaned up some of it. It looks, at this site, it looks like, probably 50% of what I dumped is gone. So I just rake it up a little bit just to kind of freshen it up, get the hard crust off of it before I go dumping any more on top of it. So you can see there's a pretty significant pile, and I just dump it right on the ground. I'm not worried about it leaching into the ground and wasting any of it. I actually want it to do that. I'll get in a little bit at another site. I'll tell you about my sites and how I use them and where they're at and everything like that. But I just pile it right on the ground. So I just dumped out 75 pounds of mineral. There was probably at least 35, maybe 40 pounds from when I dumped on May 15th. But this is my first site. I've got 3 total mineral sites. I've got a deer feeder at this site. I don't have a deer feeder at my other sites. But yeah, so this spot is down in the hardwoods and in the oaks, and deer come in here most evenings, especially throughout the season, and clean this up. So by the end of the growing season, by the end of fall, I anticipate this site will probably be completely. Okay, so this is my second site. It's probably, way the crow flies, probably, quarter mile from my other site, the first site that we were at. Like I said, this is a beef ranch, so that is our number one focus and priority is the cattle. So we're using the land to make beef, not deer necessarily. So I got to work around that. And in this spot, that was a really good spot, I thought. Here along the river, this is a pasture that we keep bulls in a lot, and to keep them out of this deer mineral, because they will eat it like crazy, I had to fence off an area. So you can see that I've got a small area fenced off here. It's probably, it's probably 30 foot by 30 foot, not real big, but big enough to keep bulls out of. so that they don't eat up all my mineral. So this actually was my first site that I made. The deer in here in this area a lot all year. That's one thing I've had to learn in where I pick my mineral sites is where the deer are in the spring when they're growing antlers. They do, at least our deer do hang out in different areas on the ranch at different times of the year. The areas that we hunt are not areas that I find deer sheds in the winter and spring when they start shedding antlers. In fact, there are some spots that are some of the best deer hunting on the ranch. I won't find a single deer shed in those areas. They just breed in those areas, and then when it comes to wintering, I guess they go somewhere else. So, and it's the same thing in the spring. I can't just dump mineral anywhere I want. I got to find out where they're at in the spring and go to those areas. This area that I'm in, it's close to the river. I guess all my areas are close to the river, but this one, the deer are in this spot all year round. And one thing that I learned, that a light bulb came on and really clicked for me when I first got into this mineral thing. I'm thinking, you know, mineral grows antlers, so how do I get this mineral into the bucks so that they grow antlers? And what the guy told me that makes this mineral and sells this stuff, he told me that he says, just like your cows, you don't just want your cows eating the mineral. The mineral is good for digestion, it's good for overall health, and you want them all eating it. It's whole herd health. You want your cows eating it, you want your calves eating it, you want your bulls eating it. It's good for your whole herd. So, and he said, you know, it's not any different than your deer. You want your deer, your does and your fawns to eat it as well. You want your does to bring their fawns here to show them where it's at. And then they grow up and they'll bring their fawns here, those does, and it becomes generational, and they keep coming back to this spot because they know where it's at. And when he said that, about it being just, it's no different than my cows, that just really clicked with me and made a lot of sense. So I'm over the idea of getting the bucks to eat it. I want them all to eat it. It's good for all of them. It's good for those does as far as their own personal health, and if they're good and healthy and getting a lot of good out of what they eat as far as grass and other stuff, if that mineral helps them digest, they're going to put on better milk. And if they're milking better, the fawns are benefiting from that. And so on and so forth, and they bring their fawns and they teach them, and then the next generation they bring them back. So that kind of brings me to my my next point, is that I don't move my mineral sites. Now that I have them established, it took a couple years to get the deer to where they know it's here and they'll come back. I don't move my mineral sites. I think you could probably move them within, you know, eye shot. I don't think it's a big deal to move your site, you know, 50 yards or whatever from the previous spot. But the idea is that it's in this area, and it's always going to be in this area, so that they learn where it's at. The mineral becomes a part of the ground and becomes a part of the soil. And these deer will dig holes in the ground to get to this mineral. So I don't move my sites. Now that I've got 3 sites, and now that I've got them established and where I want them, I'm not moving them. They're in the same spot every year. And again, I'm not trying to tell you that this is the one and only way you should do it. I'm sure there'll be people that put mineral out year round, and that's great. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm trying to hit the major antler growing part of the year. And again, the money thing is, I'm not looking to dump thousands of dollars into my deer herd. We dump thousands of dollars into the cow herd. I don't want to do it with deer too. I just want to give them a little boost. I don't want to break the bank. So, all right, like I said, I've got $500 into 3 sites for a season. At each site, I'm dumping 3 bags, which is 75 pounds. I dump April 1st, I dump 3 bags at a site April 1st, and then 45 days later, I freshen them up with 3 more bags on about May 15th. And now 45 days later, I'm hitting them again right before they go hardhorn. So me putting this mineral out in July will get them and through them getting hardhorned. So our deer around here start shedding velvet right before our archery season begins, which is September 1st. And they'll after that first week, by second week of September, our deer are completely hard-horned. There is very little velvet left in that first week of archery season in September. So July and August, that's, you know, that I'm trying to get just a few more inches, you know, put on right before they are done growing for the season. So this is my third spot, probably another quarter mile from the last spot. So from end to end, what is that? Probably a good half mile at least apart from my furthest west spot to my furthest east spot. I would like to maybe add a couple more now that I've kind of got these figured out. Like I said, this is year 4 of doing mineral sites. This one's been eating the most of all of them. So when I first got into this stuff, the dealer, a friend of mine that ranches here, he said that to invest at least 2 years into it, to give a good 2 years into doing it before I make a real decision about whether I want to keep doing it. And he said in his experience, the first thing that he saw after using the mineral was mass. Younger bucks, smaller bucks started to put mass on. And after 2 years, the next thing he saw was more points. So that's what I was hoping for, and boy, he was spot on. That is the first thing I saw was mass, and then the next year I saw points. So, you know, like I said, here in the Sandhills, without the groceries that a lot of the Midwest states have, you know, like Iowa and Illinois, that have a lot of the proper nutrition. They've got the good soil with the right mineral in it. They've got all the crops with high protein, soybeans, corn, all that kind of stuff, alfalfa. we just don't have much of that here in the Sandhills. There's a few circles here and there, pivoted circles, but we just don't have that. So I'm not trying to create deer that are wildly unnatural to this area. I'm not interested in farming deer, in genetics and all that kind of stuff. That's fine, that has its place. I am not interested in doing that here on this ranch. I just want to give them a little boost from what they're lacking because of what they've got to live on. So, which is why I chose the mineral. I know food plots is a big thing in the whitetail world. I just don't want to do that. I'm just not interested in that. I don't think it's wrong or anything like that. I just don't want to farm. I don't want to have the equipment and the things like that to plant crops and things like that for deer. So I chose, for me personally, I chose to do the mineral route. I thought it was worth the money and low maintenance. I just got to dump mineral a few times a year. I'm not out here having to farm and make crops for deer. So again, please hear me. I'm not saying my way's the right way and people are wrong. This is what I have chosen to do here to get what I hope to get out of it. And that is, 10 more inches on a deer. That would be my goal. This mineral doesn't guarantee that or anything like that. My goal is to turn 140-inch deer into 150-inch deer, and to turn 150-inch deer into 160-inch deer. That would be really ideal. I'm not looking to grow just absolute freaks out here. That's not normal for the Sandhills, and I want to hunt something that's as normal and natural as can be. The other way that we manage is through harvest. What we choose to harvest. When I was a kid and growing up, it was solely looking at the rack. If they had a big rack, that's what you looked at, and that's what you shot for. And we have changed in the last 8 or so years. We've started trying to manage our deer herd by shooting mature bucks, and that means you're not always shooting great big bucks. If you're confident it's an old deer, that's the kind of deer we want to kill. But I believe when you hunt like that, it allows your deer to grow old and to put on some antlers, because that's another thing. I think that deer, you can shoot a Boone and Crockett buck here in the Sandhills, but I think it takes more time than it does in other parts of the Midwest, just because, again, they don't have the nutrition, so they need the time to grow those big antlers. So we have started shooting, mature bucks, 4.5 years, 5.5 years old, that old, and older ideally, if we're confident in that. But the tricky thing about that is that takes a really keen eye to be able to look at a deer and age him accurately, not based on his antlers. I've learned that aging deer on their antlers is not a very great way to age deer. And I look back at some of the deer we have on the wall that we shot years ago, and I can look just at the size of their skull and go, geez, that was a really young buck, probably 3.5 years old with a huge rack. Think what he would have been at 4.5 or 5.5. We might have been able to push that 150-inch rack to 180 inches if we just would have given him time. So that's not to say that we don't shoot young deer with big racks. It is really hard, A, to age them properly, and B, to watch a buck with a nice rack walk away. That's hard to do. So we have, and I'm sure we will continue to shoot a young buck with a nice rack here or there. But we've really shifted and tried to learn based on head size, gut size, back length, all those different things that you can look at to age deer better than looking at their antlers. We've tried to focus a lot more on that, and I think that has helped allow young bucks with nice racks to grow even older and turn into old bucks with bigger racks. So those are really the two things that we do here on the ranch. We manage them by how we harvest, and then, like I said, about 4 years ago, I started this mineral deal, and I'm really happy with both of those things. Managing deer has not been a job. It's been enjoyable. It's been fun. And that's how I want to keep it here on this ranch. The minute it becomes work to try and grow deer like I am cows, that's when it loses its fun for me. So, and the other thing too in management, we shoot does. We shoot as many does. I invite people to shoot does as much as I can, because that's an important part of management. You can't manage your deer herd, in my opinion, without shooting does. So a few years ago, we set the goal to take twice as many does as bucks every year, and we've been pretty good at that for the last few years. We've always taken at least as many does as bucks, but there again, that's not really going to help your buck to doe ratio if all you're taking is equal amount. You got to, in our case, we got a lot more does than bucks, which as far as whitetail go, I think that's most places have. They're just so prolific and they reproduce like crazy. Anyway, so if you were looking at the three things, if I could tell you the three things that we're doing here to try and manage our deer herd well, it's letting them get some age on them, trying to age them based on other things outside of their antlers, shooting does, and these mineral sites, and been really happy with the results so far. Okay, so that's it. That's the third time this spring and beginning of summer that I have hit my mineral spots, and it's gonna be the last time. Next thing I'll be doing come September is doing a little archery hunting for deer. So anyway, I just wanted to make this and show you kind of what we do here and how we're doing it and how it's working for us. And I suppose I better quit playing and get back to work.